The dark side of revenge. Culture. Men beware. Welcome to a deep dive into the dark underbelly of revenge culture and gender ideologies. It's like we're living in this crazy time where everything's upside down, right? We're gonna unpack that. Today, we'll explore how manipulation, trauma, and media influence, all that stuff, shape our relationships and societal norms. We're talking deep, dark psychology here, man. Stay tuned for shocking revelations and a cliffhanger that will leave you questioning everything. This is gonna blow your mind. Chapter 1. Revenge. Culture and folie à deux. A toxic cocktail. So, what the hell is revenge culture, right? It's this pervasive mindset that has seeped into every corner of our lives. It's like this poison, man. It's everywhere. You can't escape it no matter where you go or what you do. It's this whole idea that we gotta get even, that someone always has to pay. It's this relentless cycle of vengeance that keeps us trapped. And it's messing us up, man. Big time. It's like a dark cloud hanging over us, affecting our mental health and our relationships. It's in our relationships, it's in our media, it's everywhere you look. From the news we consume to the social media we scroll through, it's all around us. And then you got folie à deux, which is this whole other level of crazy. It's not just about one person losing it. It's about two people feeding off each other's madness. It's like when two people share the same delusion. It's wild, man. They start to mirror each other's thoughts and actions, spiraling deeper into their shared insanity. Think about those couples where they feed off each other's worst impulses. They become a toxic force, amplifying each other's negative emotions. That's folie à deux in action. It's like a feedback loop of madness, where each person's delusions fuel the others. It's like they're both going insane together. They lose touch with reality, and their shared delusion becomes their new normal. Chapter 2. MGTOW versus Third Wave. Feminism. Two sides of the same coin. Now, let's talk about MGTOW and Third Wave feminism. These two movements have gained significant traction in recent years, each with its own set of beliefs and followers. Two totally different movements, right? At first glance, they seem to be worlds apart, each advocating for the rights and recognition of their respective genders. One's about men going their own way, choosing to live independently of societal expectations and relationships with women. The other's about female empowerment, striving for equality and breaking free from patriarchal constraints. But here's the thing. Are they really that different? When you dig deeper, you might find surprising similarities. Both movements are reacting to perceived injustices. MGTOW followers feel that the system is rigged against men, particularly in areas like family law and societal expectations. Third wave feminists argue that women are still facing systemic inequalities in the workplace, in politics, and in everyday life. And both can get caught up in this toxic revenge culture. Instead of seeking understanding or compromise, there's often a focus on blame and retribution. It's like they're both looking at the same problem, but from opposite sides of the mirror. Each side sees the other as the enemy, yet they are both struggling with feelings of disenfranchisement and frustration. It's like, are we all just playing different roles in the same messed up game? Maybe, instead of seeing each other as adversaries, we should recognize the common ground and work towards a more inclusive solution. After all, understanding and empathy might be the key to bridging the divide. Chapter 3. Media manipulation. The puppet masters of gender. Let's be real. The media's got its grubby little fingers in everything. And when it comes to gender roles and accountability, forget about it, man. They're shoving this narrative down our throats, telling us how to think, how to feel. It's like they're trying to program us. And the worst part is, most people don't even realize it's happening. They're just soaking it all up, man. It's like, wake up, sheeple. The media's playing you. All right, let's get real for a second. Toxic relationships, man. They're like a bad trip that never ends. But how do you spot them? What are the red flags? Well, first off, you got to look for control issues. Is your partner always trying to control you? Then you got manipulation, gaslighting, all that messed up stuff. And of course, you got the classic sign, walking on eggshells. If you're constantly afraid of setting them off, that's a huge red flag. Trust your gut, man. If something feels off, it probably is. You guys see that movie Malignant? Talk about a wild ride, man. But here's the thing. It's more than just a horror movie. It's a metaphor for toxic relationships. You got this woman, Madison, who's being controlled by this, parasitic twin. It's messed up, man. But it's really about how toxic relationships can feel like you're being controlled by another entity. Like you're not even in control of your own life anymore. It's deep, man. Let's get into the nitty-gritty here, man. The psychology of manipulation. It's some real dark art stuff. We're talking about things like covert narcissism, emotional blackmail, all that crazy stuff. These manipulators, they're like predators, man. They know how to push your buttons, how to exploit your weaknesses. And the worst part is, they often do it without you even realizing it. It's like they're messing with your head, man. Chapter 7. Big corporations, cashing in on gender wars. You think big corporations give a damn about gender equality? Think again, man. They're all about the bottom line. They're happy to exploit gender issues, to pit us against each other as long as it makes them a buck. It's like they're profiting off our division, and the more divided we are, the more money they make. It's a vicious cycle, man. Chapter 8. Dodging the bullet. How to avoid toxic relationships. So, how do you avoid these toxic relationships? Well, first off, you gotta know your worth, man. Don't settle for anything less than you deserve. And don't be afraid to walk away from a bad situation. It's better to be single than to be stuck in a toxic relationship. And for God's sake, trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Chapter 9. Connecting the dots. The big picture of revenge culture. So, we've covered a lot of ground here, man. We've delved into the intricacies of human behavior and societal norms. We've talked about revenge culture, how it permeates our daily lives and interactions. We've explored concepts like folie à deux, MGTOW, third-wave feminism, media manipulation, and toxic relationships. We've really gone through the whole 9 yards. But what does it all mean? How do these pieces fit together in the grand scheme of things? What's the big picture here? What are we really looking at when we connect all these dots? Well, I think it all comes down to this. We're living in a culture of fear and resentment. We're constantly being bombarded with messages that tell us we're being oppressed, that we're being victimized. These messages come from all directions, media, social networks, even our personal relationships. And it's making us angry, man. This constant barrage of negativity is fueling our anger and frustration. And when we're angry, we're more likely to lash out, to seek revenge. It's a vicious cycle that feeds on itself. The more we feel wronged, the more we want to strike back. And this cycle of revenge and retaliation only leads to more pain and suffering. It's a never-ending loop that traps us in a state of perpetual conflict. So, how do we break free from this cycle? How do we move towards a culture of understanding and compassion instead of one of revenge and resentment? These are the questions we need to ask ourselves as we navigate through this complex web of human emotions and societal pressures. Chapter 10. The missing piece, unveiling the truth. We've just scratched the surface here, man. There's so much more to this story, but I'm going to leave you with this. There's a missing piece of the puzzle, something that ties all of this together, something that explains why we're seeing such a rise in revenge culture, in toxic relationships, in all of this madness. I'm not going to reveal it today, but I will say this. It's bigger than any of us could have imagined. Outro, the truth is out there. If you've made it this far, you're about to uncover a crucial piece of the puzzle. This is some real conspiracy theory stuff, man. Stay tuned for our next video where we'll dive even deeper into these issues. We're going full-on red pill here. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to help us overcome societal manipulation and tyranny. We gotta stick together, man. Together we can make a difference.